Yep. I guess our quarterback can play a little bit, huh? He can play the position a little bit, huh? He's okay. I guess he's okay. It's not just handing the ball off to 2-6, right? I mean, we can win that way, but we can also win the way they won this past Sunday against the Steelers. And when the Steelers did a really good job against the run, Jalen came out throwing and had a great game, putting the ball in the air, putting the ball, trusting his receivers, trusting AJ and Devontae, you know, uh, uh, you know, having a hell of a game. And is it going to be that way every week? No. This team can win in different ways, and when you can do that, you have a great team. You just do. This team can win by running the ball. They can win by throwing the ball. They can win a game by holding the ball for 10 minutes and 29 seconds. Let me repeat that. 10 minutes and 29 seconds against a good defense. They can hold the ball and drain the clock out. Run the clock out, basically. Fantastic job. Steelers are a really good team. And I know they didn't have Pickens in the game, but they're a really good team. They play hard. Eagles play hard too. Listen, the Eagles have played 2 games against 2 very physical teams, the Ravens and the Steelers, and they won both games because they out physicaled those teams. That's how we know we have a great team this season. This is what was missing a season ago. This is why last season was so tough to watch at this time of the year last season, from that 49er debacle on. And you know what made it so difficult? Not just watching how they didn't compete on the field. The missed tackles, the misplays, the bad coaching, right? The poor play on the field on all sides of the ball. But we knew they were better than that. We knew that they were better than that. That's what made it so frustrating. It was like, it was like in Space Jam when the Monstars show up and they take the talents away from those NBA players, right? It was like from that 49er game on, this team just didn't have it. And we knew it was there because we've seen it before. And this season, yes, they got 2 new assistant coaches. Great job by getting Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio in here to correct what needed to be corrected on both sides of the football, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, valuing a linebacker position. We haven't seen that since Schroeder Sr. was on the team, before his son's on the team now. All due respect to the linebacking core they had when they won the Super Bowl, but they weren't Vaughn and N'Kobe Dean. Yeah, these guys are playing. That defensive line, and I know BG is missed, but they are playing. And Jalen Carter, my God. And I know he got into it a bit, and that the Deacon Jones head slap. You can't be doing that now, Jalen. You gotta control. But this guy's an absolute beast. Talk about a game wrecker. And I've nicknamed this defense the Wrecking Crew, the Philadelphia Wrecking Crew. That's what I've nicknamed them, because they're out wrecking games. Doesn't matter the opponent. They can go up against high-flying offenses. They can go against teams that are a little, that do a little more grinding, and they can come out on top. And they can shut you down. And when you have that working, when you have your offense clicking, and the special teams is giving you some good things too, right? What does that equate usually with this franchise? It equates a team that gets to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not putting them in there just yet. I'm not doing that. Don't misread what I'm trying to say. But the last times I've seen this team play like this in December, right? 22 went to the Super Bowl. 17 went and won the Super Bowl. 05 went to the Super Bowl. And I get the 2 years before that, they lost to Tampa and they lost to Carolina. And the year even before that, they lost at St. Louis. But they at least got to the NFC title games those seasons. And they also got to the Super Bowl. So 3 of those years they were in the NFC title game. 6 of those years they were in the NFC title game. 3 of those 6 years they went to the Super Bowl. 1 of those years they won, which we all still are very thankful for. That's when I've seen this team play like this in December. That's how I know we're in for something good here. And there's still a long way to go. There's still a lot of obstacles that can come up, but this team has met whatever obstacles have been thrown at them, even ones that are in-house. The type of obstacle that derailed them last season would not happen this season. The sins from a season ago get atoned this season. Let me repeat that. The sins from a season ago get atoned this season. They squashed that noise. They came out and played a hell of a game against a good team, a playoff team in Pittsburgh. Perennial good team. Which, by the way, the Steelers haven't won here since 1965. Shout out to all my friends in the Western PA area, and you Yinzers out there. But you all had to be taught a lesson again. You all, start getting a little mouthy. Now, I do have a lot of respect for that franchise. I do. I have a lot of respect for them. But I was very pleased to watch that game and to watch my team compete the way they did and silence some of the critics, because there was a ton of critics last week. They could barely beat Carolina. Oh, now Jalen and AJ, this, that, he said, this, that, and the other thing. It could have derailed. Look, a year ago, it did derail. It could have happened, but they said no. This isn't happening again. And maybe sometimes you have to go through what they went through last season to be stronger as a collective unit. Going into this season, yeah, they have some new pieces there playing really good. Some young guys, some guys, right? I did forget to mention bringing back CJGJ. He's been fantastic. He is the type of player this team missed last season, right? That swagger. They didn't have that swagger last season. It was missing. He was in Detroit, getting them to the helping them to the NFC title game. Right? We missed him last season. They did. And I'm so glad he's back. I'm so glad he's back on this team. This is where he belongs. This really is. This is the perfect situation for him. And this is the right fan base for him to be playing in front of. That swagger. I love it. I love it. That leader in the secondary. Who's not afraid to go out and make some tackles, right? And it's contagious. When a defense does that, everyone wants to do it. Last season, guys didn't do it. And everyone didn't do it. This season, now you're seeing it from however many players, and everyone does it. It goes both ways. And it's fantastic watching this defense this season. This is a special defense watching this season. Special. Making plays. Well coached. The fundamentals they do. And we didn't see that last season. We didn't see it. It was embarrassing. But this season, now you're seeing it. This is the type of defense. This city eats up. We love this kind of defense. This is our mentality. This is the Philly mentality defense. This is what we waited for. And it's so good to have it. It's so good to have it. Because this is the perfect defense for this town. Defensive players from years ago are still beloved in this town. Look at all the former Eagle greats, right? How many of them are defensive guys? It's great to have a fun offense too, because you got to score. But a defense that can shut the other team down and make plays, tackle, get takeaways. Beautiful. What a difference a year makes, man. And I know I'm gloating a lot. Look, I had to go through, all of us Eagle fans, we had to go through this last season. We had to be kicked in the dirt last season by these other fan bases, right? The 49er fans, the Giant fans, the Dallas fans. Oh my God, it didn't stop. The one thing I know about this team and this franchise that some of these other fan bases might not, this franchise, more years than not, is a competing franchise. This is a team that competes, that gets to the playoffs, that has good years, right? Since Jeffrey Lurie took over the team many years ago, this team, more years than not, ends up in the playoffs. This team, more years than not, has a successful season. right? They've been to Super Bowls. They won a Super Bowl. I mean, they've been a very competitive franchise for a very long time, right? Yeah, we might get kicked down every now and then. There's going to be seasons. It happens, right? We know some of those Chip Kelly years. Some of the first year with Dougie P, the last few years with Dougie P, right? Last season, right? But most of the years, and even including last season, were playoff years. They got in. And this season, in 05 and 17 and 22, and this season, they're looking like they could be a Super Bowl team. And I look around this league, and I see some other teams that wish they had it. They wish they had it. Their fan bases are sitting there going, man, why can't that be us? Why can't that be us? And you know why I can appreciate this? Because I had to go through what we had to go through last season from that 49er debacle on. How terrible that was. This is why we can, you know how to appreciate it, because we had it the other way last season, and we had to deal with it. We had to deal with all the jokes, all the noise. We rode with our team. This is what we always do. This is what this fan base will always do, win or lose. But we had to deal with it last season. And like I said, man, the sins of last season get atoned this season. And you saw that this past Sunday. You've seen it all season, from the bye week on. That switch got flipped. It got flipped. Now every game wasn't pretty. Every game's not going to be pretty. Look around the league. What teams win by 30 points every week? You win. If it's a blowout win, if it's a close win, you just got to collect those W's. Particularly if you have a chance, and the Eagles still have a chance to get that 1 seed. And look, they're a very dangerous team when they get that 1 seed. When they're home, when they got 2 home games to win to get to the Super Bowl, the last 3 times we went to the Super Bowl, when the Eagles were the number 1 seed in the NFC. Right? They beat the Falcons in 05, they beat the Vikings in 17, they beat the Niners in 22. And the 2 years before that, yeah, we know what happened against Tampa and Carolina. But since that, win to the Super Bowl every one of those years. And won the Super Bowl in 2017. And one of the more epic Super Bowls you're ever going to see. And these fans have a lot to do with it. This is a tough place to play. Particularly when this team is playing like this, and this defense is playing like this. Oh, God, that gets the best out of these fans. We want this is what we want. This is what we need. This we eat this up. This kind of defense. We live for this, and it just energizes this fan base that much more. So you know how tough it's going to be for any team. I don't care if you're the Vikings, the Lions, the Bucks, the Packers, Seattle, LA. I don't think it matters. Whoever, if the Eagles get the 1 seed, whoever's going to come in this stadium, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. And it was long days for those other teams. They remember, and their fan bases remember. Not that I'm trying to remind them, but they know. Let us get that 1 seed, man. Let us get that 1 seed. I'm proud of this team. I am. I just, I give credit where credit's due. I give credit to the coaching staff. Like I said last week, Sirianni will drive me nuts. He will drive me nuts. But I will give him credit when credit's due. When you got to give the guy his flowers, you give him his flowers, and he's done a hell of a job this season. It could have gone the other way after the bye week. I mean, this team could have gone spiraling, and it didn't happen. And Sirianni's been a big part of that, keeping this team together. Taking the suggestions from the offensive line and wanted to run more. A lot of coaches would say, hey, look, I'm going to coach. He listened to his players, and they changed their offense for the better. Now, Jalen, as he showed last week, he can still win games when he's throwing the ball. Can he get better at it? Absolutely. But he's a good quarterback in this league. He's a winner. Since he's been an Eagles quarterback, more times than not this season, the team has won games. 3 years in a row making the playoffs. 4 years in a row making the playoffs. Now, with Jalen as the quarterback. He's a winning quarterback. Does he drive us nuts every now and then? Does he see the field all the time? Make mistakes? But more times than not, he still puts this team in a situation to win football games with his arm and with his feet. And he did against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't give up a lot to running quarterbacks. They gave up some to Jalen. So shout out to Jalen and shout out to that offensive line. What did I say before this game? I said you win, and whoever's going to win those battles up front is going to win the football game. And that game was won up front by the Eagles' defensive line and from their offensive line. And my God, did they push those guys around on offense. And I know, look, T.J. Watt made some plays. T.J. Watt's going to make plays every week. He's a great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Give him credit, right? That peanut punch that he had, the fumble, right? But for the most part, that defense was pretty silent against this offensive line. This offensive line is a terrific look. They just every week we don't know how good we have it, and you see other games and you see mistakes that other teams' offensive lines makes, and this guy's with the penalties and that guy with, how many times the other defenses get to the quarterback, right? Look at all the time Jalen has every game. It's like 4 or 5 seconds he has to throw the ball. It's unbelievable. And that's a credit to the guys up front. And it's a credit to the organization because it's an organizational philosophy since Andy was here to build up front, to build an offensive line, and to have the best coaches that you can with it, to prep these guys. So if one guy goes out, another guy comes in, and it's just they don't seem to miss much of a beat. Now I know that Steen looked a little shaky when he first came into the game. Hopefully Dickerson's okay. But as the game going on, he got better, right? And I think it's just a testament to the players. It's a testament to the coaching. And that's what it is. That's the philosophy of this franchise, is to build up front, to build an offensive and defensive line, to always be solid there. And for the most part, that's what they've been. It's nice to see them paying attention to linebackers now. That's a good thing. The secondary, safety and cornerbacks. That's nice too. And to have, right, an old school defensive coordinator who just puts it all together. And look, I mean this team. Again, one of the big reasons why they're 12-2 is how well their defense is playing. It might have gone under the radar just a bit because of the season that Saquon's been having, who still has a chance at the rushing record. What they're doing offensively, but defensively, look, they're as big a reason as any why this team has won 10 in a row, why they're 12-2 right now. You look at how this defense is playing; it's unbelievable every week. Unbelievable to see these guys flying around, making plays from the start of the game to the end of the game. That's big time. When you can do that, you're going to win a lot of games in this league. You're going to have a lot of success. And this team is a very dangerous team. And I look at some of the better teams in this league. I look at Buffalo. There's no D in Buffalo. There's a D in Philadelphia, though. There's no D in Buffalo. They might get there just because Josh Allen is doing just incredible things. But at some point, that lack of defense might hurt them. And it might be against a team like us at the end. But we'll see. Again, I'm not putting us in there just yet. But I look at that team and I see that could be a problem, right? I'm looking around at other teams. Now, look, Detroit, I never wish injuries on anybody. That team has gone through so many injuries and they keep competing. It's a testament to them. But those injuries, it's just going to be too much for them, I think, at the end, particularly on defense. So you see where they're lacking, right? Their offense, they can score with anybody, but the defense, they're just not it. They're giving up way too many yards, way too many points, and a big part of it is because of all the injuries they have on the defensive side of the ball. And now they lose a big player on offense in Knuckles, in Montgomery, and that's a big blow. That's a big blow for them because a lot of what they do offensively is based off the run. Right, it sets up their passing game. Now, they still have a pretty good back in Gibbs. Sonic, he's still pretty good. But, again, this is a team that's so used to having two guys, and now it's down to one. We'll see. Now they have time to still play it together. Yeah, they do, and they're still a good team. They're still going to win games. But all these injuries are just mounting up for them. Every week, it seems 2-3 guys go down. And you can only deal with that for so much longer. So we'll see, Minnesota's a solid team. Minnesota's got a defense. They're playing really good. Offensively, we know, they're kind of, similar to what the Eagles have. They have the two really good receivers. They have a running game. I like Hurts over Darnold. I just do. All due respect to Darnold's having a hell of a year. But I just think if it comes down to Hurts versus Darnold, I'm still liking our chances. I am, and I'll get more into that as we go on. So listen, here we go. We got 3 weeks left. Right now, it's coming down to crunch time. This is how I see the rest of this season going. And look, I'm not an expert. I'm not on NFL, network or anything, or ESPN or anything like that, or This Week in the NFL or whatever, right? I'm just a guy here with a YouTube channel. But I've watched this game a long time. I think I know a little bit about it. It's about feel. It's about time. It's about spot of game. It's about feel. It's like the Cuz says. It's sometimes it's just about spot. You can kind of tell based off spot. Just like I said last week. Right now, that was a crazy game. But I said I think Buffalo's going to win this game. I can't see them losing 2 in a row, and indeed they did. And they did us a favor by winning in Detroit last week. As crazy an offensive game as that was, boy, Buffalo the last 2 weeks. I'm adding numbers. Just crazy how that offense is done, and they've had to, because if it wasn't for that, they would have lost both weeks. But at any rate, 3 weeks left. This is it, right? Home stretch. So we know this week the Eagles go to take on the Commanders. It's the second time they've seen them this season. It is a revenge spot for Washington. They are a good team. I'm not, trying to take anything away from them. I think this is the toughest game left for the Eagles. And I think of the 3 teams, and when we talk about the 3 teams for the number 1 spot, there's 3 teams for one number 1 spot in the NFC playoff picture. So you got the Eagles and you got the 2 teams in the NFC North, right? You got the Lions, who still percentage points ahead or whatever with the Vikings. You got the Lions and you got the Vikings, right? All teams are 12-2, and it's just going to come down to these last 3 weeks. As I look at this week's games, I still think the Eagles probably have the toughest of the games, only because it's a division game on the road against a division team that's actually playing for something and not tanking, like Chicago. Chicago, as I said last week, they've been absolutely no help to us, and they'll continue to be no help to us this week. Okay? The Eagles, like I said, I think we have the toughest game at Washington against a playoff contender in a division game. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's probably going to be a close game. I think the Eagles continue to win, though. I really do. This team just looks so motivated. It's like they see what's still out there for them to get, and they're still trying to grab it. I just think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a close game, a hard-fought game. Maybe it comes down to a Jake Elliott field goal at the end on a last-minute drive for the Eagles. And by the way, shout out to Jake Elliott last week making all of his kicks after a week of not looking too great against Carolina. He's been shaky this season, Jake. He hasn't been quite Jake to make this season, but he had a vintage performance last week. It kind of went under the radar because of how well the offense and defense played. But Jake had a nice game last week. Again, he made all of his kicks. And I think if it comes down to a Jake Elliott kick this week against the Commanders, I think he'll make it, and I think we'll win a close one. Then we have Detroit going to Chicago, and even with all the injuries, Detroit's going to win that game. Chicago they're not going to help us. I've resounded to the fact that we're going to get no help from the Bears all year, and right now, basically, I'll call it, they're tanking. They want to pick. I don't think they're going to win this game. I don't think Detroit loses 2 in a row. I think they're going to hear all week about how bad and the defense and the injuries and they don't have a shot now. I think they're going to try to make a point this week in Chicago and win that game to try to get back on track, as it were. And I think they will. I think they're going to get a dub in Chicago. And then we have Minnesota going to Seattle. Now it is in Seattle. I don't know. I haven't heard what the latest on Geno is. But even if he plays, I mean, I look at that Seattle team and I'm not overly overwhelmed by them. To me, they're a bit of a paper tiger. It's like when you kind of push against them, they kind of, they look tough, but like when it comes down to it, I don't think they have it. I just don't. It's awesome when they wear the throwback uniforms, but outside of that, I don't see it in that team. I just don't. I don't think they're good enough. They might be a playoff team this year, but I don't think they're good enough. And even in Seattle, that used to be such a difficult place to play, it's not that anymore. They seem to lose a lot at home. So I can see Minnesota going in there and winning. I don't think it will be an easy game. I think finally Minnesota's playing someone. Since from the Colts game on, they played a lot of, They had a lot of layup wins. Now, to their credit, they won all the games, right? But now they're starting to play some playoff contenders. Like I said, Seattle might be one of the weaker of them, but okay, it's a playoff contender. I think Minnesota is going to win the game. I don't believe in Seattle. I just don't. Yeah, the boom days are long gone. That place that used to be so difficult to win in, a lot of teams do. I can see Minnesota, even though it's a dome team, going out there in Seattle with all the noise and the elements. I can see them winning the game. Would it shock me if they lose this long winning streak after playing a decent team? It wouldn't. I mean, it's the NFL. Nothing would shock me. But I think they're going to get the win there. I really do. I think they're playing really well, and I think it's a spot where it's going to be tough on Seattle. And I think regardless of whether Geno plays or not, I just think Minnesota's going to probably get that dub there. So I think all of us win this week, and I think it settles nothing. So we all go to what that would be like 13-2, I guess, all of us. But next week, this is where I see things changing a bit. All right. So next week, right? So now we're getting into the week after the weekend after Christmas, right? The Eagles are home against Dallas, and it will be Kelly Green Day for the Eagles. The Eagles haven't lost a game since we're bringing these uniforms back, right? They're 3-0 going to that game next week. My buddy Slim and I will be there. So the Eagles are going to win. Dallas is not coming here and winning. I know they're trying to ruin their tank. They're trying to win some games for pride or whatever the hell it is. Who knows what they can't even tank right. They're even when they're starting to lose and their fans say, well, maybe we'll get that draft pick. No, they start winning some meaningless games and ruin their tank. It's Dallas. They're going to screw up. So Cooper Rush is not coming here and winning that game. It's not going to happen. That's a Kelly Green game for the Eagles. The Eagles at that point will still have a shot at the 1 seed. They're not losing to Dallas. I don't care how much pride Dallas thinks they have. Cooper Rush is not coming into this environment and winning. It's not happening. So the Eagles will get a dub there with myself and Slim in the building. Okay, and meanwhile, Detroit goes to our good friends, the Faithful in San Francisco. Now, here's the thing about that game. It is a revenge spot for Detroit for the NFC title game from a year ago. It's a different Detroit team. It's a different 49er team. Both teams are injured. So it's like a battle of attrition, that game. Now, here's the thing about the 49ers. Yeah, they're not going to be in, more than likely, they're not going to be in the playoffs this year. I guess it would be like a miraculous thing. They would have to win out and other things would have to happen, but more than likely they won't be a playoff team, but they're not tanking. They don't have a chance at like a top 5 pick. And they're a prideful team, right? They have weapons, even though they're injured. They have weapons on offense and defense. They have enough weapons. Maybe not McCaffrey. It would have been nice if he would have been playing in that game, but it is what it is, right? They still have weapons. They're still a prideful team and organization. They're going to want to get their fans a win, holidays or whatever. And look, they know it's a big game too. They can play spoiler if anything else for Detroit to get the 1 seed. I think the Niners get up for that game. I just do, and I think that's the game. I don't think it happens this week because as bad as the Bears are on offense. I mean, a half a defense in Detroit is still going to do enough against that Bears offense to win, but I don't think that will be the case in San Francisco. I think that even though they won't have McCaffrey, I think that the weapons that they have on offense will be more than Detroit can handle in that game. And Detroit might put up some points, but at the end of the day, I think the Niners get them. I think that's a spot game. It's the second road game. It's a dome team going to the West Coast. Maybe there's some weather. Maybe there's some elements. It's not an easy team they're playing. I mean, they're the Niners. They're not like just going to roll over. And I can see the Niners giving them a game and winning that game. Yes, I'm hoping for that, but I can see it happening. Again, it's time, it's spot. I can see that it's the week before the big showdown against Minnesota. I can see that, and this again, the main reason also is because this is where I think the injuries for Detroit's going to show up more so than in Chicago. against the tanking Bears. They'll show up against the Niners, and I think the Niners is. I think the Niners, whether they know it or not, might do us a favor and win that game, and that will get us over Detroit for that one spot, right? And then we go to Minnesota. Minnesota that week, they play their last home game of the regular season, but it's against the Packers. And the Packers are playing really good football right now. And here's the thing: Minnesota beat Green Bay earlier in the season in Green Bay, I think on a last-second field goal or something. It's a revenge spot for the Packers. They're playing good. They still have an outside shot of passing or getting up to Minnesota or Detroit, right? Not saying it's a great chance, but there's somewhat of a chance there. They're not going to, and they know they're in a battle, right? They're in a battle with some other teams for the playoff spot, so they really need that game. They need the game more than Minnesota. Minnesota would have already clinched a playoff berth, and I know they're still playing for the division title and the number 1 seed, but the game means more to Green Bay, and they're playing really good football right now, dangerous good football right now, to be honest. I think Green Bay gets them. I think Green Bay goes to Minnesota and gets a win, and that gets us ahead of the Vikings. So I think next week is going to be a very good week for the Eagles. We'll take care of Dallas at home in Kelly Greens, and both Detroit and Minnesota lose that week, and that puts us ahead of them. And that takes us to the last week of the regular season, right? Eagles again at home against the tanking Giants, who are playing for Shakur right now, who do not want to win games. And Eagles are at home with a chance to wrap up the number 1 seed. We ain't losing. We are not losing to the Giants that week. It will be a victory at halftime. That game will be over, and I know there's a lot of games, it seems, for the Eagles that just come down to the fourth quarter. That's not going to be one of them. The Eagles will have a comfortable lead at halftime. They may even sit guys by the fourth quarter, right? I don't know if Saquon's going to get the record or not, but I think by the fourth quarter, you're going to see Jalen on the sidelines. You're going to see Saquon on the sidelines. You're going to see a heavy dose of Pickett in the game. The Eagles will have wrapped up the number 1 seed in the playoffs because we're not losing to the tanking Giants. That's not going to happen. The Giants do not want to win games. They're doing everything they can to lose. And that game will be the same as these other have been. It's not a prideful punch. They're not going to say, oh, we can ruin their year. No, they want Shador. They want Shador Sanders, so they're not going to do anything to ruin that. Eagles will win the game, and I think, at the end of the day, I think Minnesota wins in Detroit because, again, I think the injuries to Detroit is going to show up again against Minnesota in that game. So I think Minnesota wins that division title, and they get the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs, and the Eagles get the number 1. And the Eagles are home for 2 games in the playoffs, which will be wonderful. Again, this is just how I see things going down the rest of the season. I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong in the past. Maybe it's me trying to think this is what I'd love to see. But I'm also looking at this by spot for the teams, who they're playing, where they're playing, what situation, and what's the other situation the other team will be in. Again, time and spot, right? And all due respect, Sam Darnold going to win 3 in a row against playoff caliber teams? There's still something in the back of my mind. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want it to come down to the end that week, because then regardless of who wins that game, they're probably going to get the 1 seed and the Eagles will get the 2 seed. So I'd rather for those 2 teams to take L's before that last week's game in the Motor City. Can I see Detroit rattling off 2 out of 3? I can. Can I see them losing 2 out of 3 because of all the injuries? I can definitely see that. And I look at who they're playing, and I can kind of see that. I can see two in a row to end the season. I can see 2 in a row to end the season at San Fran and then home against Minnesota. Even though it's tough to win in Detroit, I think Minnesota will get it done. They'll be coming off an L, against the Pack, and they still are going to know that they still have a shot at the division crown and the 2 seed, and I think they get it. That's just how I see it. Again, could be totally wrong. Things can go completely different this week. But that's how I see things going down the rest of the season for the next 3 weeks. And again, I'm just basing it off feel and opinion. I don't know. We'll see. But so I think this week everything stays status quo. I think next week's going to be the week where the Eagles get the hurdle over those two. And then we finish it off against the hapless playing for Shador Giants. Giant fans get to be happy, get to watch us whip their ass. Yeah, but they get their quarterback. So, I mean, at the end of the day. Hey, I had to sit in the damn Meadowlands with Slim last year and get our asses kicked by them. So now it's going to be the other way around. Of course, Giant fans are going to want that because they want that number 1 pick. But, so anyhow, we're going to see. We're going to see. Look, they play the game, right? We're going to see how it happens. I'm happy that we're still alive for a number 1 seed. We're just going to have to see how this thing plays out. And hopefully Minnesota, Detroit both take L's within the next one of these 2 weeks. Be nice if it happened this week. I don't see it happening this week. The Bears suck and the Vikings are it's getting annoying. But but now they're starting to play some people, so we'll see. I don't know. Darnold again. 3 straight weeks against playoff caliber team. There's going to be a slip-up somewhere. I'm calling it against the Packers. There is going to be a slip-up somewhere. If not, then, all right, give the guy credit. It is what it is, right? But we'll see. We'll see. That Jet Sam Darnold has to come out eventually, right? It just has to. It's one of these games. One of these. Anyhow, that's how I see this rest of the season going. I still think there's a chance we get that 1 seed. This, again, is the toughest game. If the Eagles get through this one and win, Dallas is not coming here. Cooper Rush is not beating us on Kelly Green Day. And certainly the Giants aren't going to win that game. So I think we got this thing. We at least to win out. Now it's just we need a little help. And again, if it doesn't come this week, Niner fans, I know we've had some history. I mean, you guys wanted to make the history, but we've had history. Just one solid. Just it's the holidays. We can all be buddy now, can't we? Just get a win next week. It's okay. The Detroit, you can beat them. It's okay. Just one time. Green Bay. I mean, I know we've had time, right? Andy came from there, right? We my dad went to Wisconsin, so I think don't worry about 1960. Don't worry about that. Just do us a solid next week, okay? Just go to the Vikings, get a dub there. You need it for the playoffs. You need it, so go get it. Don't let me down. You let me down in Detroit. Even with Goff falling over and handing the ball off, that sucked. Make up for it. Okay, in a couple weeks. And the Eagles, we just got to win, baby. We just got to keep winning. That's all. Win 3 in a row and then hope the other 2 lose 1. Just slip up once. Both of them have to slip up 1 time. Once! Damn it, once! Anyhow, before I end this video, as crazy as and off the rails as we've gotten, I do have a couple pickups here, and I know usually I don't do the pickups in the Season of the Fan series, but it is Eagles related. It's also Kelly Green related because you can never have too many of these. I can see it now. I know Throwback Kings. How many Kelly Green Eagle jerseys do you need? I just need more. I can't help it. They're beautiful. Beautiful. This is the one I grew up with. So we had to get more. And I had to get these 2 guys. These 2 great-looking rookies. Q Island. Quinion Mitchell, my guy. There he is, 27. There he is in the Kelly Greenies. Came up on Fanatics about a week ago, and I had to have them, and they were on sale. So here it is. So the replica versions, no authentic, but this will get it done. There he is. Potential defensive rookie of the year right there, Quinion Mitchell, 27. And, yes, again, Dallas, you are not beating us in these in a couple weeks. That's not going to happen. Slim and I will be in the building. Look at that. Q Island right there, Quinion Mitchell, part of the Wrecking Crew. There's his Kelly Green Eagles jersey. And, of course, I had to get the Water Boy. I had to get the Water Boy. Here he is. Cooper DeJean right here, the Water Boy. Here's his 33. The year the Eagles were established. And this is the replica jersey right here for the Kelly Green, Cooper DeJean, and that rhymes right there. Look at that with the full eagle on the sleeves. I love that. The Eagles will be 4-0 in these uniforms, at least bringing the uniforms back. Since bringing them back last season, there's the Water Boy Cooper DeJean, his 33 Kelly Green, and the Q Quinion Mitchell Q Island. 2 members of the Wrecking Crew right there. There you have it. More Kelly Green into the fold. We can never have enough. I want that 98, though. I want that Jalen Carter, one of the big boy members of the Wrecking Crew. So hope maybe that might be the next one I get. We'll see. There are others I want, though. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. Anyhow, that is it for me, man. My little crystal ball for the next 3 weeks, right? I don't think Lions or Viking fans are going to be happy with that, but, but we have to play the games, right? Don't be angry at me if your teams, slip up once and we just keep winning. That's just how it has to be. You're just going to have to come here. And we all know how things go when that happens in the playoffs, don't we? Anyhow, we'll see. I shouldn't really be talking this much because, this is usually when it comes back to get me. But it's a bet. We're doing good. This is a different year. I feel good. Anyhow, everyone, what do you all have to do, right? You have to leave those likes. Like, right? You got to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'm still hoping. I need to take a drink. I'm still hoping to get the 2K subs by New Year's Day, New Year's night, 2024. We'll see. If not, we'll just push for it for next year. But you all can make a difference by hitting that sub button. Tell your family, tell your friends. There you go. Let's get how many subs we can get before the end of the year. And also make sure to hit the bell icon so you're notified to all future content from yours truly, whether it's Season of the Fan, whether it's In the Life Iced. There's many different series here on the channel. And I try to be, as you can see, as entertaining as I can. So you never want to miss an episode of any of the series. So to be notified to that, you got to hit that bell icon so you can do so. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. This has been tremendous. This season has definitely been just so much different than a year ago. It feels great. This is what I want to see. This is what all of us Eagle fans want to see. We knew it was in there. They just needed to find a way to get it out. That was so tough. That was a tough watch last season. Drew Lock got us. Anyhow, that's a long gone time now. Things are much different this season. I don't think he would get us this season. I don't think that would happen. But anyhow, thanks y'all for watching. And thank you for all the support as always. Let's go Birds! Let's get another win. 11 in a row against the Commanders. We'll command them and win and keep the winning streak going and keep the hopes of a number 1 seed in the NFL playoffs going and keep that alive. And we'll see if we get any little bit of help. We're not going to, the Bears, I'm not even going to think about it. We know what happens there. Bears. Just one time. You couldn't just... Anyhow, we'll see what happens. And you all have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. It is that week next week. And the next time you see me for the Season of the Fan series will be after Christmas. And, we'll be moving on to another week then. And hopefully it's another victory week, right? Coming off of this Sunday. Again, I'm calling for a close Eagles win. Maybe by a late Jake Elliott field goal. We'll see. But I think we keep the winning streak going, and we'll see if we get any bit. All right, it won't be the Bears, but maybe Seattle. Maybe I liked grunge when I was growing up. That was a very big thing for me. And Seattle, we could be friends. Seattle, I have ties. The grunge scene, I was all about it. I still am. So you can just. All right, we're gonna have to see. All right, everyone. Y'all take care, and I will see you in the next one. Go Birds!